So in this video, we're of course covering the book Atomic Habits by author James Clear. In this discussion, we're focusing on chapter 2. Chapter 2 talks about the best way to build a habit is to change one's identity. And I'll just read this to sort of get the conversation started, and we'll go from there. Many people begin the process of changing their habits by focusing on what they want to achieve. That leads us to outcome-based habits. The alternative is to build identity-based habits. With this approach, we start focusing on who we wish to become. The ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. I just want to throw it out there. Do you guys agree with this with this statement?
If it's just a yes or no answer, then I say yes. I kind of agree with that idea, but more from how practical that is, I'm not sure. Maybe it's something that we can chat about.
Okay,
Anjanette?
I definitely, I don't think this is about changing your identity or becoming someone who you're not. I think that this is more focused on becoming the best version of yourself. For example, one of the habits in future videos that I'll be sharing is a time blocking habit, which is an organizational tool. So I think it's much more helpful in the way I'm looking at habit building if I'm thinking of myself as I'm an organized person. And really radiating not just in habit building time blocking, but also in other areas of my life, like waking up and making the bed and getting dressed. That beingness of who I am and how I show up in the day and to my job and in life directly impacts the habit building of time blocking, which is an organizational skill. So I think I do agree with James Clear's statement that if we focus on the outcome of a habit, that it becomes very goal-oriented and it becomes a thing to do. But when working through his book and habit building in my instance, becoming the habit, like it's a state of being versus something that I'm just doing because I have to do because I want to become organized.
Yeah, it's a great point. So like in the book, they have the example of the smoker, right? And the person that says, hey, do you want a cigarette? And the person's trying to quit, so they're saying, no, I don't want a cigarette, I'm trying to quit smoking. And then you have another individual who used to previously smoke, who's now quit smoking. A person offers him a cigarette, he says, hey, I'm not a smoker, right? I'm not a smoker really says, hey, I don't want a cigarette, don't offer me the cigarette again, I am not a smoker, right? So that person has taken the identity of not being a smoker, even though they've been a smoker in the past. So the big question here is, how do you create identity-based habits versus outcome-based habits?
Yeah, I guess to kind of follow up with that example is sometimes it is difficult to just say something. One example I can think of is if I'm a person that is really responsible at my work, so I work really hard, I get things done, no problem. But then I start to realize that this is kind of affecting my health. Maybe I'm not eating well, maybe I'm not sleeping well, and I want to change that part. I can't just say that I'm a healthy person, but and upon sort of analyzing the situation, it could be the case that because of my other identity, which is a responsible person and try to get things done perfectly, is the root cause of that. So then am I saying that I need to somehow change the identity of something that is me already, so that I can fit this one in there, or change to the second thing here? I guess that's the thing. That's the question I'm kind of like throwing out to you guys and see what you guys think.
Yeah. When you think about your identity, I think taking that identity is like the highest form, right? Because I recall someone saying to me at work that I was very organized. Like you're just such an organized person. And so my identity at work was that of an organized person. So it made me want to be more organized, right? I wasn't just organized in the meeting or organized in that instance. I took on the persona of someone that was organized as compared to other people. And it really kind of resonated, and it made me want to be more organized in general. Because if people see you a certain way, and that way is positive, you want to do more of that in order to continue to get that positive that positive reinforcement and that positive view on your personality and your attitude and how you present yourself in those environments, in those situations.
Right, but then what if that is impacting some other habit that you want to form?
Yeah.
And so, how do you sort of like build the other identity so that you can, achieve?
Well, you can have multiple identities. You can stack your identities, right? So I can be an organized person who doesn't smoke.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. I don't smoke, and I'm organized. I mean, I think you can stack those identities, and then those identities that you have now claimed is now your persona.
Yeah, I think too, it might not necessarily be about having separate identities and whether those identities coalesce in the way that creates a singular person. I think it's intentionality. It's deciding who you want to become, right? So in your example, and when I'll be doing the time blocking or building the time blocking habit, I want to be an organized person. I am, and that becoming part of who I am an organized person who also, is a non-smoker. I've never been a smoker, but that is who I am. And having that clear picture and intentionality and beingness that embodies the habit. James Clear states that habits are the way you embody behavior. And I think that there's a singularity, though, of the identity, even though it has multiple facets to it.
Yeah, and I guess my little take on that is, we have our own identity, right? And those are like so core to us. And I think you mentioned in the past, like this non-negotiable things, right? That's me. And instead of having to force to go into something else who we may not be comfortable with, I think we should just look at how can we extend from our current identity. If we can somehow, tag on these little things that will still get us to achieve those other habits, I think will help sort of like to like you say, Edwin, to build the identity-based habits. Mm-hmm. It's not to jump around into areas that are so unfamiliar to us, but rather how can we tag on to who we are and to kind of evolve from there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think that's an important word too, is evolve and evolution. And I think James Clear actually does state that this habit building technique system that he's advocating is more about micro self evolution. And that we're always, there's a sense of ourselves being impermanent, that we're continually on this cycle of improvement. And I think that that's essential. I think that there are core values of who we are in an integrity or honesty or what we hold dear in terms of, like I said, values. And again, this comes back to self-awareness. There are parts of me that I can look like, that doesn't necessarily attach to value, that I'm a little unorganized at times. And that is somewhere that I can evolve. And so, when we build that habit, and then, there'll be other things. And I think it's also that things change in time. 2 years from now, I might be looking at my identity in a different way. I think that it's not holding too tightly to who you are. I think there's more of a fluidity, but I do agree, Simon, that there are core parts of ourselves that don't necessarily have to be called into question when we're building habits.
Hey guys, of course, we are the M3 Collective. Please don't forget to like,
comment,
and subscribe.
By doing so, you'll receive notification when we drop new videos.